Hi, it's Paul here from selfoutforlife.com, and today I'm going to cover how to improve your brain power and reduce stress and anxiety. Now, many people believe that one thing, often a life event, causes their stress, anxiety and depression. And they also believe that there's one thing they need to do, often a mindset thing, that's going to make everything better again. The reality though is there are many things that influence stress, anxiety and depression. Could be biological factors, can be other people, it can be the world around us and situations, as well as our thoughts, feelings and our mindset. Now, a few weeks ago I was attending a hypnotherapy workshop here in Sydney, and the presenter was Dr. Sarah McCoy, who's a neuroscientist. And one of the slides in her presentation was what causes depression, and the slide had all the different factors that cause depression. She then brought up another slide which is what causes anxiety, but it was exactly the same slide as the previous one about depression. She then brought up another slide which was what causes insomnia, and it was also exactly the same slide as what causes depression and anxiety. She then went on to talk about how to resolve anxiety, and that was exactly the same slide as well, and the same for depression and the same for insomnia. So I reached out to Sarah and asked if I could share this particular slide with my viewers on YouTube, and she agreed, and here it is. So the first part is what she calls the bottom up. So these are the biological and physiological influences that influence anxiety, depression and even insomnia. So it can be things like genes, hormones, your immune system, nutrition, exercise and other lifestyle factors. And then there's outside in. So this is social and environmental factors. So this can be stress, life events, education, current circumstances and also family background. And then there's top down, which is your thoughts, emotions, mindset and belief system. So top down is probably what we're most familiar with from all the things that I talk about on this channel and the other self-development activities that you do as well. Now, in reality, each area influences the other. So our thoughts can influence our physical health. This is why psychological stress, long-term psychological stress, can lead to heart disease. Also, our social environment can directly impact our brain health and our brain power, and this is why socially isolated people have a greater risk of getting dementia, and also why physical health and mood are closely linked, and this is why exercise is a key emotional regulator. So for the solution, if we just focus on mindset, the top-down approach, and we forget the others, then we're missing some other vital components. And if you've been maybe trying to get over depression, anxiety, and you've been struggling, then maybe it's because you've been ignoring some of these other components. So let's kick off now with bottom up, which is about changing your biology. And the first thing we'll cover is genes. So you might feel that you are genetically disposed to depression or anxiety because your mum or dad or another family member had it. And that could be true, but there's a couple of things I want to say about that. One is that you can still manage it and deal with it very successfully by looking at all the other components they're going to talk about in a moment. And secondly, that with genes, something else has to fire that gene. So that gene could be dormant in your body, but something else has to activate it. And I've talked about this in another video, which is all about epigenetics, which is what other things influence your genes. And that video will appear up here right now. Now, the second one is hormones. Now, there's lots of different hormones, chemicals in our bodies that affect anxiety, depression, and our general mood. So a key one is cortisol, which is the stress hormone. So that's produced in our adrenal glands. That's what gives us energy, it gives us immune function, and that influences our moods. And then another one is thyroid. So if you have an over or underactive thyroid, that can contribute towards depression, moodiness, and tiredness as well. Another one is serotonin. This is the good, happy chemical, the one that stabilizes your mood, happiness, and feelings of well-being as well. And then for women, there's other hormones that affect menstruation and the menopause. So if you find that you have psychological mood swings around about those times, then that can be hormonal as well. So the next one is your immune system. So when you get a cut or a bruise, your immune system will bring blood to that area to help it heal quicker, and often it will become inflamed during that time, so you'll get some kind of inflammation. And that's always supposed to be a short-term thing. That's supposed to go away when that part of the body has healed. The problem is sometimes we can get long-term inflammation, and that can be very harmful for the body, and that's often caused by psychological stress. The next one is the gut. So it's believed now that there's actually brain cells in your gut, and also there's a very strong connection between your gut and your brain. That's why when you feel stressed, you often feel it in your stomach. Okay, so there's a very, very sensitive connection between your brain and your gut. That's also why when you feel hungry, your brain is informed straight away. Okay, so don't underestimate the gut. The next one is nutrition. Research has shown that a Mediterranean style diet, which is mainly plants with some fish, a little bit of meat, olive oil and nuts, is the best diet for improving your brain health and your brain power and reducing symptoms of stress and anxiety. Also on that diet, wine and coffee is okay in moderation. And then the next one, exercise. So exercise is really important because it helps release muscle tension and increases your oxygen levels. When you think about it, when you do any kind of exercise that gets you out of breath, your body is forced to take in more oxygen, and that is important. It also boosts your feel-good hormones, that's your endorphins, and helps use up excess adrenaline and cortisol that is released during stressful times. So that's why exercise is so beneficial to stress. And then the last one of the bottom-up category is sleep. Now, Sarah believes that sleep is the cornerstone to brain health and brain power. And in sleep, our brain consolidates memories and does an amazing cleanup process. Sleep also helps regulate emotions and your cortisol levels. So that's cortisol, the stress hormone. And she's a big fan of napping. That's taking a 20-minute nap as a way to recharge your brain, improve your brain power and health. And that video will appear up here right now, and also put a link to that video in the description below as well. So I'm now going to cover outside in, which is all about changing your environment. And I'm going to kick off with life events. So this is when something external, some kind of life event, causes an initial bout of depression, stress or anxiety. And that life event could be being made redundant, especially later in life when you feel maybe that you won't be able to get back into that kind of work again. It could be a relationship breakup or getting divorced. It could also be some kind of long-term health challenge and wondering how you're going to deal with that. It could be also kind of a feeling that you've lost your mojo, a feeling that maybe life was better, a few years ago. Maybe you were better off financially at that time than you are now. Lots of different factors, but it's when you often pine back at how things used to be and you feel that life cannot be that way again, particularly, as you're getting older. This can often be a common one. That's often what can give you that feeling of depression and anxiety. And the key here is to be able to accept that initially and then work on changing it, but also work on the bottom-up components that I've talked about already, and also the top-down components that I'm going to cover shortly in this video. And then the stress. Now, stress for me is a little bit different to life events. These are stressful situations that you can control and avoid. So maybe there's certain people in your life that cause you a lot of stress that maybe you can spend less time with. Maybe there's certain activities, commitments that you could drop that are stressful. So these are things that you have a bit more control over, unlike life events. And then the next one is social support. We're social animals, we crave connection. Our brains are wired for connection, especially when we're stressed. So having supportive friends, family, and social connections are going to help you overcome stress and in the long term be able to live a longer, happier, and more healthy life. And I think the reason for this is that there's a bonding hormone called oxytocin, which is released in the brain when you connect with other people. And that oxytocin makes us feel good. it lowers stress, and it also lowers the effects of the stress hormone cortisol. And social connection also requires you to think, feel, sense and reason and make use of intuition. And often you have to do those things really quickly. You think when you're having a conversation with someone, you've often got to think on your feet, you've got to feel different ways, you've got to sense how they're responding to you. And that's really good for your brain as well. That's helping fire neurons in your brain, which is really important. And it says research has shown that loneliness can be as bad for you as smoking. So social connection is key and really important. The next one of the outside in category is education. So this is about learning how to deal with depression or anxiety or stress. So it's watching videos like this, it's reading books, it's investing in courses and seminars, because the more information you know on what causes it and the more techniques and strategies you have to resolve it, the better. And then the last one is nature. This is one of my favorites. This involves getting out in the sun, the light, enjoying the fresh air, and that helps you relax and also gains a perspective on life. You know, when you take a walk for a few hours and you just allow your mind to just think about things, it's amazing what new ideas and new perspectives can come up during that time. Getting out in nature also improves your mood. It reduces blood pressure and it improves concentration when you do get back to what you're doing. And also being out in the daylight helps you sleep better because your brain knows that it's daytime, okay? And that helps regulate your circadian rhythms, which helps you then go to sleep at the right time. So if you're indoors a lot, your brain starts to not know when it's daylight and when it's nighttime. And sunlight also helps you feel better, you'll have a better mood, it improves your mood, and you get that vitamin D fix as well. And it also increases serotonin. So that's another feel-good hormone as well. And I think a lot of people underestimate the importance of light and sunlight. But if you look at parts of the world where in the winter there's not a lot of daylight, not a lot of sun, so you know, up in the Nordic countries, Scandinavia, those kind of places, Iceland, you know, the rates of depression are a lot higher in those countries, especially during the winter, where some people suffer from seasonally adjusted depression, or SAD as it's often known as. So don't underestimate the importance of getting some sunlight. Here in Australia, it can be challenging in the summer because the sun is very strong and we have to be careful of that. What I often do is I get out earlier in the day and later in the afternoon when the sun is less strong. But wherever you are, where you're watching this video, the sun may not be as intense as it is here in Australia. So the last area that helps improve brain health, brain performance and brain power, and also helps reduce stress, anxiety and depression, is called top down. And this is about changing how you think. And this is the area that you're probably most familiar with from watching my other videos or from reading other personal development and self-help material. So we'll start with thoughts and cognitions, and especially your perception of stress. So how you think about stress has a considerable effect on your body. So it's not the stress itself, it's how you think about stress. And Kelly McGonigal did a wonderful video called How to Make Stress Your Friend, and it will appear up here right now, and I'll put a link to the video in the description below as well. In that video, she says that it's not stress itself that's harmful, it's your belief about stress that is harmful. And when you have a negative belief or a negative perception about that stress, your body changes in unhealthy ways. And when you can see stress instead as helpful, like it's preparing you for the challenge ahead, this will stop your body responding to any further stress and making you sick. So that's really, really important. So the next time you have any symptoms of stress, and that could be that feeling in your stomach, that could be sweaty palms, that could be tightness in your shoulders, it could be that really, really busy mind, whatever those symptoms are, you know what those symptoms of stress are for yourself. Next time you notice those, begin to reframe that stress. Think about it in a different way. Could that stress be the energy, the excitement and the anticipation that you need to get on and achieve that goal? So the next one is mindfulness. So when you're fixating on a future problem or past regret, that creates worries and rumination. And rumination is when you begin to think about the same thought over and over again more than is useful. And then that creates stress and anxiety. So mindfulness is a way of training your brain to be able to focus on the present moment. Because when you can let go of those past regrets and worries about the future, then you can really release that stress and anxiety. So it's really about just being very aware of the present moment, so being very connected with your senses, so what you can see, what you can hear, what you can feel, maybe even taste and touch if that's relevant. And you can also use your breath to begin to slow down your heart rate as well. So mindfulness is a great thing to practice. The next one is feelings and emotions. So your feelings and emotions are closely related to your thoughts. Remember, it's your thoughts that create your feelings, but often it's a lot easier to spot a negative feeling than it is to spot a negative thought. And what people tend to do with feelings is they tend to either hold them inside, they suppress them in some way, or they express them. Now, holding feelings inside is not good for your body, not good for your body long term. And expressing your feelings is not always good for other people, especially if you do it often, and especially if it's to loved ones. So other options are better if you can, and one of them is just to sit with the feeling. You know, a lot of us try and just like we use alcohol and food to try and suppress uncomfortable feelings, but actually just facing that feeling and just sitting with it for 5 minutes. Often you'll find that after that time, that feeling will just dissolve by itself. So just acknowledging and sitting with that feeling can be very helpful. Or you can practice releasing that feeling or emotion. And my favorite way for doing that is the Sedona method, and that appears in a video right up here right now. And then the next one is mindset and beliefs. So this is really around having a positive mindset and having beliefs that support you, especially beliefs around stress. So to quickly recap, we have bottom up. So that's about your genes, hormones, also includes exercise, nutrition, and getting a good amount of sleep. Then we have outside in, that's life events, stress, also social support and getting out in nature. Then we have top down, which is all about your thoughts, your feelings, emotions, your mindset, and your beliefs. So as I mentioned at the start of this video, much of the inspiration and information for this video came from Dr. Sarah McCoy. So I'll put a link to her website down below, and also her book called The Woman's Brain, and also to her Neuroscience Academy as well. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and do leave a comment below. I'd love to hear what you think. And do subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and click the bell notification so you're always notified whenever I release future videos. And do go and check out my website, that is selfhelpforlife.com. On there you will find the written versions to many of these videos, and also a link to my podcast and social media channels. So I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I look forward to sharing more great content with you very soon. Bye for now.